Good morning, everybody. It is Tuesday, November 4th. Yeah, can't even figure out how to say the days of the week. So it is November in Edmonton, and it is a little frosty outside. You can see the frost on the ground, and it is quite warm for this time of year compared to what we normally have. And half the time when I'm on here, I feel like I'm being a weather girl talking to you about the weather, because the weather does actually impact our sales. As soon as we get really cold and whatnot, things get slowed down. Also, with Christmas around the corner, can you believe that it is almost here? We are looking at Christmas so quickly, and typically around this time it gets a lot quieter until about end of January, early February would be the beginnings of some life. But over the last few years, in case you haven't noticed, we have had a pretty strong market, so it's been consistent no matter what time of year it has been. And then last year we started to see that slow down for the first time in a long time, and I foresee it's going to continue to do that because this whole year has been a bit of a slowdown. But in terms of going back to our regularly scheduled program of seasonal highs and lows, I would say this is about the time right now where things are going to get slower. Now, the question is this still a good time to sell and buy? And I will talk about that once we get through our market stats that we talk about every week. And if you're tuning in live and want to ask a question, please go ahead and comment and we'll be able to chat about that. So currently we are looking at just over 2,800 listings that are for sale. So you can see it did drop a little bit, and it's not a surprise because things don't tend to come on the market, but it's a surprise because it didn't keep going up. Because if you've been following along, we have been slowly climbing upwards, and you can see that we maybe would have hit the 3,000 mark this last week, but we had a little influx of sales. So that's quite normal in October. It's the last kind of go at let's get a house on the market, like get a house under contract. It's almost Christmas. If we get in October, we can still move in right before Christmas and before year end, right? So there's definitely nothing too crazy about, but it is about 100 listings lower than it was last week. If you look at the surrounding areas in the Edmonton area, St. Albert, Sherwood Park, Spruce Grove, you can see all the numbers are very close, within a couple units different. So pretty much the same as what's been going on. And I would say that we're going to continue to see that pattern. I don't think it's going to go and drop drastically, but it probably will decline a little bit over the next month or so until we get back into January, and where in February, I think we'll start to see it start to make a rise again. Now, for pending sales, how many sales went under contract this last week? You can see it was less than the week before, and in St. Albert, there's quite a bit less, almost a quarter. And then in Sherwood Park and Spruce Grove, they were pretty much the same. So activity level was nothing too crazy. And something of note, if you're watching from BC or Ontario, the teacher strike is over now because of the mandate. So this last week, there's been a lot of that to consider as well. If people are going back to work as teachers, or if they have kids going back to school, that can also impact sales as well. Now, if you take a look at sold, these are contracts that were already under contract. They removed conditions or they put an unconditional offer in. We have 20 less sales than the week before. And if you take a look at around the same area, again, other than St. Albert, everything's pretty similar in that regards. Now, if we take a look at compared to last year, Edmonton in 2025 has been tracking slower than 2024 for the most part, but we're going to eventually hit a similarity. Right now we haven't, because if you take a look, it's 165 versus 228. So at this time last year, still stronger, but of note, we were already declining last year from the year before. So the market was slowing down. Now, once we start comparing these numbers next year in 2026 to 2025, we want to make sure we're not slower than 2025, because if we are, we're going to move into an even more deeper buyer's market. So we'll see when we compare year over year what that's going to look like. So now, what does that mean for you as a buyer and a seller? If you're looking to buy a house, are you still going to get a good deal? So the best time to buy a new build home, new build, brand new, spanking new build, it's right now. You might think it might be December because they're hitting year-end goals, but it's actually November, because in November they try to do all the things to get the sales in before year-end. And by the time it's year-end, if you're not going to remove conditions by the year end, it doesn't help their numbers. They've also done a lot in November to try to get to their goals, so then they're not going to be as motivated. So if you're thinking about building or buying from a builder, you really want to talk to your realtor, especially if they work with new builds like myself, where we can actually figure out what is the best scenario for you. If you're just buying a house, like, let's get on it. Let's take a look at the lots. Let's figure it out. And pro tip for you, when you wait for another phase, those lots will be more expensive. So if you're looking for a deal that's not happening, you're paying the premium to be the first in the neighborhood. And you're talking about $30,000 to $50,000 more for a lot. And so the biggest savings when you buy a new build is going to be lot. The lot is the biggest cost, because a lot also not only is different in price for like location and phase, but also when you are a corner lot or you're backing onto a green space or a park or whatever, you have more architectural guidelines, which also cost more money. If you have a longer driveway, all these things add into the big overall cost that you really have no choice on if you want to buy that location. If you want to save money, then you want to take a look at the lots and be really strategic with which lot that you purchase. Now, when you take a look at what are the deals out there for resale homes, it's a little bit different. Now, homes that are on the market, depending on how many days on market, you can take a look at the market stats with your realtor to discuss what's been going on in the market. Was this home priced correctly? What is wrong with the house potentially? Why aren't other buyers buying the home? Figuring out all those things, you potentially could still have a really good opportunity to purchase right now, because anyone listed right now, in my opinion, it does actually need to sell. They wouldn't be listing their home right now if they didn't need to sell, because ideally you want to put your home on the market in the spring when there's more buyers out, not less. Now, if you're a seller listening to this thinking, well, then I'm going to wait until spring to sell, it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get 10, 20, 30, 40, $50,000 more. Actually, complete opposite. Your just odds of selling are faster come the new year. And so if it's faster, you might have a slim chance of selling more than what you are now, but not by a whole lot. Not the way our market is. If this was a couple years ago and our market was like as heated as it was, then yes, waiting that few months could give you that potential uptick in price. But right now, I don't have a crystal ball. I've never had a crystal ball, but with the way that the patterns are going, I foresee the market is either going to be very similar in pricing or potentially even lower if we are going into a declining market, because we are adjusting right now. And so that's something to have to consider as well. So though you might have a higher chance of selling, when I say higher chance of selling, it's not about the price, it's about actually selling the home. Yeah, you heard that right. I know that in the last few years, we haven't had to worry about if your house is going to sell or not. It was just about how much. Now we have to consider if your home is going to sell, because if you overprice, you are going to price yourself out the market, because there's so many other homes now available. Buyers are not as many as they were before. They have the time, they have the choices. They have new build homes that are starting to become more competitive. So you have more competition. So there's the chances of selling, and then the price it's going to sell at are two totally different things. So you want to make sure when you're looking at that sale, you need to consider that with your agent to discuss what are all those pieces. Does it make sense for me to wait till next year? So if you are selling, you have nowhere to have to buy. Let's say you've already bought a place, or you're moving out of the province, or you're moving in somewhere else and the house is already purchased and you're just looking to sell, then I would just sell sooner than later, because we don't know what the market holds next year. Now, does that mean that buyers can get a deal on your home? Well, they get a deal in the sense of they don't maybe have to do multiples if you were to get multiples. But here's the thing. If you put your house on the market now and you sell it within a quick amount of time, no one's going to be able to take advantage of you. It's for all those homes that have been sitting on the market for over 60, 90, 120 days that have been sitting and sitting. And that counts, yes, you guys who like to reset the clocks on the days on market calendar, but guess what? We can see the cumulative days on market. So if the house was overpriced at the beginning of the year or in the middle of the year, and now it's November, even though you took the house off the market, put it back on to reset the clock, you can actually see the history of how long a home has been on the market. So it's really important as a seller that you price the home where it needs to be. And for any homes that are under 600,000, you need to be selling within the first couple weeks. If you're not getting the activity to sell within the first couple weeks, you really need to look at your pricing strategy, because something is wrong there. The houses are still moving. It is not a complete buyer's market. It hasn't completely declined. So as a seller, be very strategic on your price. Now, if you're looking at a home over 600,000, I'd say 600,000 to 700,000, you need to take a look at what is happening in that market in your neighborhood. Because once we get over 600, there's now this pricing strategy that changes. When you look over $1 million, actually between 1 to 1.5 is a funny little blip where it actually moves quite quickly. But 1.5 million and higher in Edmonton, yes, there are homes for sale in that area. You need to understand not only the pricing strategy, but also the wait time, because the amount of buyers looking to purchase a home in that price range for resale is quite small. And then think about if you have that much money, they may actually even want to custom something or build from scratch. So, well, I guess custom and build from scratch is the same thing. Or maybe even do like a lower priced home and renovate it. So you need to understand that it's highly competitive and you're likely to sit on the market. So if you're selling a $2 million home and you're wanting to go downward in size, you definitely need to sort out the sale of your house first. It might take quite some time before you are need. Now, you might be thinking, I don't want to sell my house and then be without. Now, if you sell your house and you give yourself some time and you're looking at the same time and seeing what's out there, you're not going to be completely left out to dry. Again, talk to an agent that will actually help coordinate and help you juggle all these pieces, because there are lots of moving pieces when you're looking at buying and selling. But if you're just looking to buy right now, my tip for you is talk to an agent that knows new builds. Like, there's some really good deals out there right now that I'm like letting my clients know, don't let this pass you by, because next year in January, that same house, if it doesn't sell, you'd think, oh, I can get it for lower. No, no, no. The builders will now increase that price because that's just how they work. So if you want to get a good deal on a house, now would be the time. If you're looking to build, even now would be the time, because it's actually perfect. It takes about 4 months before you're even digging a hole in the ground. And so then you can think about, okay, we can list our home in that time. Now, there's a lot of mortgage stuff that you got to figure out, because every person is different. If they can hold a mortgage, if they can port a mortgage and bridge a mortgage, it's all super important. So make sure you take a look at all those things. Now, in terms of communities, what communities are hot sellers in Edmonton right now? I would say, for some crazy reason, the northeast side is actually moving quite quickly still, probably because of average price. Anything under 500,000 is still moving quickly. So a lot of starter neighborhoods, but even areas like older areas like the Hamptons, there's still nothing in that price range. So if you're looking to sell your home in that range or that area, it's going to move quickly. Every area that is the old resale home areas like Linwood, Elmwood, those areas are still going to move quickly. If you can find a house for under 500, you're probably going to find things in the low 500s in that space. What about flipping? Is now a good time to flip a home? Well, it depends on the house and the neighborhood that you're looking to flip, but I would say the margins are starting to increase now more than they have in the past. In the past couple of years, the market's been so hot. The risk of flipping has been quite scary. Now, when it comes to flipping, you need to talk to your accountant and make sure that you've considered if there are going to be any tax implications. With all the changes that have been made over the last few years with government changes, you want to make sure that you're not going to get taxed and dinged for any profit that you're going to make, and if this is a company, how that's going to work, and et cetera, et cetera. So if you have questions about the neighborhoods, we are putting out a video in the next few weeks about the top neighborhoods that we think are the top neighborhoods that people are buying in right now. Take a look at that video. We're going to talk about the market stats for the month. And we all have a bunch of different videos coming up in terms of the West neighborhoods and what's happening along that stretch where the LRT is. We're going to talk about all those neighborhoods. So if you're interested in purchasing on a future LRT line, you can kind of see what the market is doing in those areas. And all these videos are coming straight to this YouTube channel. So don't forget to hit subscribe, because we're coming out with more regular content. So when you watch that, you got questions, come pop on here when I'm here live, and we can talk through any questions that you might have and go back and forth. So really looking forward to all the new videos that are going to come out this month, this year, and we'd love to see any comments that you have, any ideas. Talk to you guys later.